Thieves like you make me sick." Officer Derek Kane's voice cuts through the Saturday noise of Westfield Mall, echoing off glass and tile. He grabs Madison Gray, a 17-year-old black girl with cocoa skin and soft, worried eyes, standing at a jewelry counter clutching a wrinkled $20 bill. Weekend shoppers slow, forming a curious ring of judgment. "I didn't steal this," she says, her voice trembling but clear. "Save your lies," Caney snaps, ripping the bill from her hand. He kicks her backpack across the polished floor. Worn notebooks and a half-broken pencil scatter like evidence of poverty. "No parents, no ID. You're coming with me." "My mom works at Fort Bragg," Madison insists. "I can call her." Caney turns to the onlookers with a sneer. "You hear that? This kid wants me to believe her mama's military. What's next? She's gonna parachute in wearing combat boots?" A few people laugh. Someone whispers, "Probably another shoplifter." Madison's cheeks burn red hot. Her hand slips into her pocket, thumb moving fast over her phone. One text, sent, without looking. Then she goes still. That single message just sealed his fate. Caney's grip tightens on her arm as he drags her toward the exit. The crowd parts in awkward silence. Madison's sneakers squeak against the floor, each step small but defiant. Behind them, a bystander's phone keeps recording. This isn't the first time Derek Caney A.S. let bias write the story before truth could speak. 8 years behind a badge in a town where everyone looks the same, drives the same SUV, prays in the same church, and Madison doesn't fit the picture. His eyes scan her. Frayed backpack straps, patched jeans, cracked phone, oversized jacket. His brain files the profile automatically. Single mom, low income, no supervision. The kind of kid he thinks he already knows. But what he doesn't recognize is the way she moves. Disciplined, controlled breathing, shoulders square. Trained to stay calm. It's not fear, it's muscle memory. He radios in. "Officer Yates, juvenile theft suspect. Meet me at the cruiser." Madison looks up, voice steady as a laser. "I told you the truth. My mom is Lieutenant Colonel Catherine Gray, Fort Bragg. If you just let me—" "Enough," Caney cuts her off. "Kid, I don't know what movies you've been watching, but this isn't helping your case." He opens the back door. "Get in." She obeys quietly. Door slams. Through the window, he sees her lips moving, counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. He mistakes it for panic. It isn't. 20 miles away, inside Fort Bragg's Special Operations Command, a red alert flashes on 3 monitors. The message is short. Dependent in distress. Civilian PD custody. Immediate response required. A woman in a tan combat uniform freezes mid-step. Colonel Catherine Gray reads the message twice, then bolts for the door. Officer Caney has 15 minutes before his world ends. The air inside the Greystone Police Department feels heavier by the minute. Madison sits on a hard plastic chair, staring at the reflection of fluorescent light trembling on the linoleum. Her phone, confiscated. Her ripped birthday card, tucked safely in her jacket pocket. Officer Timothy Yates watches her from behind the counter, uneasy. 26. Only 3 years on the force. And already he knows something about this feels wrong. Across the room, Officer Derek Caney leans back in his chair, chewing his sandwich like he owns the place. His boots rest in an open drawer, phone in one hand, power in the other. Madison hasn't moved in 20 minutes. Her bladder aches, but her pride won't let her beg again. Still, she tries. "Excuse me, can I use the bathroom?" "In a minute," Caney mumbles, not looking up. Minutes crawl into 10. She asks again, softer. He finally responds, "You're not going anywhere until your parent or guardian shows up, if they show up." "But I told you, my mom's at Fort Bragg." Yeah, being a super soldier. I heard it the first 12 times." He finally glances at her, eyes dull with arrogance. "Here's a life lesson, kid. The faster you tell the truth, the faster this ends. Where'd the 20 come from?" "I saved it from my allowance. 10 weeks, $2 a week." Caney snorts. Allowance? From your special forces mom who's too busy to pick you up? Yates clears his throat. Derek, maybe we should... Should what, Tim? Let her walk. Caney doesn't even look up. We follow protocol. This isn't protocol, Yates mutters, but it's too quiet to matter. Madison returns to her seat, folds her trembling hands in her lap, and begins to breathe. In for 4. Hold. Out for 6. The rhythm her mother taught her years ago during a thunderstorm. Fear's just a feeling, her mom had said. Control your breath. Control the feeling. Outside, a black Ford F-250 rumbles into the parking lot. The engine cuts. Boots hit the ground. Sharp. Decisive. The name patch on her uniform reads, Gray. Inside, Caney doesn't notice. He's too busy pulling out an incident form, clicking his pen twice. So, Madison, he says mockingly, tell me about this Special Forces mom. What's her rank? Or should we skip to the part where you admit you made it all up? Lieutenant Colonel Madison Gray, 3rd Special Forces Group, Fort Bragg. Caney grins at Yates. Lieutenant Colonel, Green Beret. You know what happens to kids who lie to police? It goes on a record, a permanent one. Colleges see that, they toss your application straight in the trash. Madison's fingers dig into her thighs. He keeps pushing. Home address. She recites it. Mother's full name, Catherine Ann Gray. And your father? He died in Kandahar. I was 5. Something flickers behind Yates's eyes, but Caney doesn't slow down. So mom's gone all the time, huh? That why you make up stories? Need attention? Madison stares past him, jaw clenched. Tim, Caney says loudly, write this down. Attention-seeking behavior, parental absence, unresolved grief. Derek, she's just a kid. She's a liar wasting department resources. Madison counts again. 4 in, hold, 6 out. The AC rattles once, then dies, leaving the air thick. Sweat beads on her forehead. Behind Caney, a faded poster hangs crookedly. Integrity, service, respect. He glances at his watch. 4:45. Nearly an hour gone. Last chance, Madison. Where'd you really get that money? I told you. From your imaginary military mom, he mocks, snapping the folder shut. If no one shows up in 15 minutes, I'm calling CPS. Maybe they'll find you a home where someone actually gives a damn. Her stomach twists. The word foster hits harder than his tone. She keeps breathing, even as tears threaten. Then the door opens. Yates looks up and goes pale. Derek? Combat boots strike the linoleum with precision. The kind of sound that silences a room. The name tape says Gray. 30 minutes earlier, Madison had typed that message in the back of Caney's car, not to her mother's phone, but to a classified emergency contact her mom made her memorize years ago. The text was simple. Detained by police, Westfield Mall, officer hostile, need you. She hit send. And somewhere inside Fort Bragg, systems began to move. What Madison doesn't know is that her text didn't just go to a phone. It triggered an alert in the Joint Operations Command Priority Channel, a system designed for dependents of high-clearance military personnel in crisis situations. The kind of crisis that flags kidnapping, assault, or imminent danger. 15 miles from the mall, a Pentagon duty officer watches the alert flash read across his monitor. He reads it once, then twice, and immediately forwards it to Colonel Madison Gray's Tactical Operations Coordinator. Gray is in a windowless briefing room with 3 NATO advisors discussing classified equipment transfers and training protocols. Her phone is set to silent for everything except priority alerts. It vibrates once against the table. She glances down, reads the message, and her face goes absolutely still. The NATO colonel mid-sentence notices. Is everything... Excuse me? Family emergency, Gray says. We'll reschedule. She is out the door before anyone can respond, dialing her aide as she moves. I need a vehicle and my Class A's. Now, 5 minutes. Her aide knows better than to ask questions. "Yes, ma'am." Gray strips out of her training fatigues and into her dress uniform with methodical speed. Every ribbon, tab, and insignia placed where it belongs, proof of who she is. Her hands do not shake. Her mind is a razor. Someone put their hands on her daughter. Someone detained her. Someone looked at Madison and decided she was lying, decided she was less than, decided she deserved humiliation. She slides behind the wheel of the F-250. She doesn't speed. Military discipline runs deeper than impulse, but her knuckles go white on the wheel. "They think I'm a lie," she thinks. "They'll learn I'm a guarantee." Back at the station, Madison sits on the hard plastic chair with the fluorescent light humming overhead. Kane's threats about CPS still echo in her ears. She decides, quietly and without drama, that she will not cry. She will not beg. She will not give him the satisfaction of breaking her. Her mother taught her control. Control your breath, control your fear, control what you can control. She breathes in for 4, holds, breathes out for 6. Her hands lie still in her lap. When Kane looks at her, she meets his eyes and does not flinch. He mistakes her silence for defeat. It is not. It is patience. The front door opens. The sound of boot heels on linoleum hits like a metronome. Yates looks up, and recognition unspools across his face into something like horror. Colonel Catherine Gray fills the doorway in full battle dress. Desert tan fatigues, boots shine to a mirror, rank insignia precise on her chest, the Ranger tab, airborne wings, a bronze star catching the fluorescence. The room changes pressure, conversations quiet, phones stop mid-ring tone. Gray's eyes sweep the room with the practiced efficiency of someone trained to read danger in a heartbeat, posture, bruising, small signs of trauma. Her gaze lands on Madison first. Madison straightens and gives the smallest nod. "I'm okay." Gray turns to Kane. Her voice is low and controlled, colder than any shout. "Officer, explain why my daughter was detained." Kane stands, tries to reclaim authority with his height and a sneer. "Ma'am, your daughter was found with unexplained cash at a mall jewelry counter. We brought her here for her safety while we investigated possible theft." Gray's tone stays even. "What evidence of theft did you observe?" Kane blinks. "She had $20 and couldn't adequately explain. She's 17. How much explanation does a 17-year-old need to give an adult before you believe her?" Gray steps closer, deliberate, not aggressive. "What store reported merchandise missing?" Kane falters. "No store specifically reported, so no theft occurred." "Then it was not theft," Gray says. "You detained a minor on suspicion without cause. On what legal basis?" Kane pivots. "She was trespassing earlier. Lincoln Park Trail, private property signs." "The trail has been public access for 6 years," Gray replies. "City Ordinance 443B. Would you like me to pull up the municipal code, or would you prefer to stop lying?" The word lands like a slap. Yates's eyes widen. Kane's composure cracks. "Ma'am, with all due respect, rank doesn't matter here. This is civilian jurisdiction." Gray slides her ID across the counter, motion economical as a drill. Accuracy matters more than assumptions. Yates picks up the CAC card with trembling hands, reads the name and rank aloud, then reads it again. "Derek," he whispers. Kane looks from the card back to Gray, his smirk thinning into something smaller than arrogance, unease. Gray's smile is razor thin. She does not raise her voice. She does not need to. The room knows in that moment that the consequences of what happened here will not be carried only by Madison. The state will find its voice, and when it does, Derek Kane will have to explain every assumption he made in public and under oath. "I'd like to see the incident report now." Kane's hands tremble as he reaches for the folder. He fumbles with the edges, trying to look composed but failing, and slides it across the desk. Colonel Gray lifts it, scanning the lines in silence. Her jaw tightens. Each word drips with arrogance. Attention-seeking behavior. Fabrication suspected. parental absence, unresolved grief. She sets the paper down with precise calm, the kind that makes grown men sweat. "Officer Kane," she says evenly. "Before you wrote this psychological assessment of my daughter, did you confirm my identity?" Kane swallows. The situation seemed to indicate yes or no. No. Gray doesn't blink. "Did you deny my daughter access to a bathroom while she was in your custody?" Madison nods slightly. "He did." Kane shifts. "She didn't ask." "I asked twice," Madison says, voice steady now. Yates clears his throat. "She did ask. I heard her." Kane glares at him, but Gray's tone cuts through. "Officer Yates, answer the question clearly. Was my 17-year-old daughter denied access to a restroom?" Yates nods. "Yes, ma'am." Gray takes a slow breath. "You detained a minor without notifying a guardian. You denied her basic needs. You accused her of a crime with no evidence. Then you wrote an amateur psychological evaluation you're not qualified to make. Is your body camera footage available?" Color drains from Kane's face. "There was a technical malfunction." "A malfunction?" Gray's voice could freeze a furnace. "How convenient." She pulls out her phone. "Mine didn't malfunction." Kane stiffens. "You can't." "North Carolina is a one-party consent state, officer. I can record any conversation I'm part of. I've been recording since I walked through that door." She tilts her head slightly. "Would you like to change any of your previous statements?" Yates stares at his keyboard, wishing it could swallow him. Kane scrambles for composure. "Ma'am, I think this is being blown way out of proportion. It was a misunderstanding." Gray's eyes sharpen. "A misunderstanding is mispronouncing someone's name. This," she taps the paper, "is harassment of a minor, abuse of authority, falsification of a report." Her voice lands like hammer strikes. "Each one of those is a separate violation, and this is just the beginning." Then, as if on cue, her phone buzzes. She answers, pressing the speaker button. "Colonel Gray," comes a crisp voice. "Major Williams, General Markham's office. We received your dependent distress alert. Do you need MP backup?" The room freezes. Kane's jaw drops slightly. Yates's fingers stop moving. Federal jurisdiction just entered their building. Gray doesn't break eye contact with Kane. "Not yet, Major. But log this call, timestamp it, and note that federal oversight of this department may be required." "Logged and standing by, Colonel. MP unit is 15 minutes out if needed." "Understood." She ends the call. The silence that follows is crushing. Kane's voice comes out small. "Colonel, I apologize if there was any miscommunication. Let's just get your daughter home and we can—" "We're not done." Gray's tone snaps like a command. "I want your supervisor. Now." Yates stands. "I'll get Sergeant Ortiz." "Sit down, Tim," Kane snaps. Yates doesn't move. "No." His voice shakes but holds. "I told you an hour ago to call her mother. I told you this was wrong." Kane's eyes narrow. "You need to shut your mouth." "Officer Yates," Gray says calmly. "Your full name?" "Timothy Yates, ma'am." "Did you attempt to intervene when Officer Kane detained my daughter?" "I suggested we contact you immediately. He refused." "But you didn't stop him." Yates lowers his gaze. "No, ma'am." "That's complicity," Gray says coldly. "Remember that." The door to the back office swings open. Sergeant Linda Ortiz, mid-40s, sharp-eyed, walks in. Her uniform is immaculate. One glance at the scene, Kane sweating, Yates pale, a 17-year-old girl sitting silently beside a decorated officer, and her jaw sets. "Someone want to tell me what's happening in my station?" Gray hands her the report. "Your officer detained my daughter on false pretenses, denied her basic dignity, and falsified this document. I'm filing a formal complaint." Ortiz reads. Her expression curdles line by line. When she finishes, she fixes Kane with a look of pure disgust. "My office. Now." "Sarge," It was just a misunderstanding. Now. Gray turns to Madison. Get your things. We're leaving. Then to Ortiz. Expect a call from JAG by morning. Ortiz nods stiffly, knowing full well what that means. The Judge Advocate General doesn't call to talk. They call to investigate. 3 days later, Greystone PD receives a certified DOD letter. Equipment suspension pending investigation. Gray's house is quiet except for the laptop's low hum. It's nearly 10 p.m. Madison is asleep upstairs, warm and clean after the hot shower and the grilled cheese her mother insisted on before any questions. Gray lets the domestic calm hold for a moment, then shuts it away and goes to work. Her screen is full of things most police chiefs never glimpse: the Department of Defense Law Enforcement Support Program portal. Header, DOD Liaison Officer, Police Equipment Transfer Oversight. A red banner marks the page, Authorized Personnel Only, TSSCI Required. Lists scroll past: equipment authorizations, compliance audits, federal grant approvals. For 4 years, she's been the gatekeeper, the woman who signs off on surplus night vision, tactical vehicles, plate carriers, comms kits. Greystone PD's name sits bold in last year, S ledger, $460,000 in surplus gear. Night optics, 2 tactical vehicles, level 4 plates for the whole agency, advanced radios and breaching tools, all issued contingent on an 80% training completion rate and adherence to constitutional policing principles. She pulls up Greystone's compliance file. The numbers make her jaw tighten. Training completion rate, 62%, 18 points below requirement. Excessive force complaints in 24 months, 18. Body camera malfunction rate, 34%, national average, 6%. She digs into the complaints and watches a pattern resolve into something ugly and familiar. Derek Kane, S name on 3 separate reports, each investigated internally and dismissed with no discipline. Not hidden. Ignored. Her fingers move faster than the anger in her chest. She opens a fresh document and begins building the timeline. Case numbers, dates, the facts of what happened to Madison, links to municipal code, the patrol report, the audio file she's already uploaded from her phone, the DOD grant terms Greystone has violated. She annotates each dismissal with the internal rationale and the missing supporting evidence. By the time the clock ticks toward midnight, the file is a blade-sharp brief that will land on desks in Washington by dawn. Call 1, Captain Brooks, JAG Corps. He answers on the second ring. Brooks, I need a full audit of Greystone PD's federal contracts and equipment grants, priority alpha, every training log, every use of force report, every dollar in the last 5 years. There's a pause. Kate, if you're personally involved, they put their hands on my daughter. They humiliated her. They lied on an official report. I want the audit initiated by tomorrow morning. Understood. I'll have it on the secretary's desk by 0800. Call 2. Diane Fisher, Senator. Personal line. Diane answers immediately, voice warm, then taut with attention when Gray explains. They touched Madison? In a mall? Yes. I'm sending you a full file. I want hearings if this shows systemic misuse of federal equipment. If Greystone abused federal resources and hurt that child, I will bring their chief before armed services. They won't leave this unexamined. Fisher's voice goes cold and decisive. Send it! I'll light a fire under this committee. We'll get subpoenas if we have to. Call 3. Matt Chen, Civil Rights Division, DOJ. Gray keeps the conversation short, clinical. She forwards the timeline and the audio, flags the pattern of dismissals, and requests a civil rights inquiry. Chen promises receipt and immediate review. She does not call for theatrical revenge. She files. She timestamps. She encrypts the folder and routes copies to JAG, the senator's staff, and the DOJ mailbox with an explanatory cover letter, alleged harassment of a dependent, abuse of authority, falsification of official reports, potential violation of DOD grant conditions. She CCs the DoD liaison office and the MP coordination point that answered her earlier alert. When the last message leaves her outbox, Gray leans back and lets the chair take her weight. A map of consequences begins to appear in her mind: audits, subpoenas, federal monitors on local training ranges, suspended equipment, criminal or administrative inquiries for officers who lied on reports. It's bureaucratic, painstaking, inevitable. It's also necessary. On the kitchen counter, Madison's sneakers sit by the door. Small, scuffed, ordinary. Gray walks over, picks them up, and tucks them into the closet like a talisman. Tomorrow will be loud. Tonight, she allows herself one small, private victory. Madison is home, safe, and they've already begun to turn the machinery of the state toward accountability. Matt Chen's voice carries a note of familiarity. Kate Gray, long time. What's going on? I've got a pattern and practice case wrapped in a bow, she says evenly. Excessive force ignored, body cam tampering, federal grant violations, civil rights abuse of a minor. Interested? Chen whistles softly. Always. Email me the complaint. We'll open an investigation Monday morning. Check your inbox in 5, Gray replies and ends the call. She sets the phone down. 3 investigations now in motion. Department of Defense audit of police equipment transfers. Senate Armed Services Committee inquiry into police militarization abuse. Department of Justice Civil Rights Division probe into pattern and practice violations. Gray exhales, the weight of momentum settling in. One night of humiliation for Madison had just triggered a federal reckoning. 20 miles away, Derek Caney lounges on his couch, third beer half empty, the glow of his phone lighting his smirk. The department group chat is alive. Military mom actually showed up in camo. Bet she drives a Prius with an army sticker. Did you salute her, bro? Caney grins and types back. She can wear whatever costume she wants. Doesn't change jurisdiction. A new message buzzes through. Sergeant Ortiz. Need to see you tomorrow. Don't come in until I call. He frowns, shrugs it off. Probably just paperwork. Complaints happened all the time. Ortiz would smooth it over, same as always. 3 days later, 9 a.m. Sharp. Greystone Police Department. Chief Harold Briggs signs for a certified letter, opens it, and stares at the Department of Defense seal. His face drains as he reads aloud, Equipment transfer authorization, suspended pending investigation into training compliance failures and credible civil rights violations. $500,000 in federal gear frozen with one letter. The silence in his office is suffocating. Sergeant Ortiz sits rigid in a chair. City Attorney Ellen Morse flips through a folder. Derek Caney stands by the wall, arms crossed, trying to look unbothered. Briggs' voice is ice. Someone explained to me how we went from a routine mall stop to losing $500,000 in federal equipment. Morse looks up from her notes. The complainant is Lieutenant Colonel Catherine Gray, U.S. Army Special Operations Command. She's also the DoD liaison who approves police equipment transfers in this region. Briggs mutters, Jesus Christ. It gets worse, Morse continues. Senator Fisher's office called. The Armed Services Committee is opening an inquiry into police militarization abuse. They've named Greystone PD as the primary case study. Briggs rubs his temples. What else? DOJ's Civil Rights Division opened a pattern and practice investigation yesterday. They're reviewing every excessive force complaint for the last 5 years. Kane's confidence cracks. His throat is dry. Briggs fixes him with a stare sharp enough to cut glass. Officer Caney, tell me exactly what happened. No spin. I observed a juvenile with unexplained cash at a jewelry counter. I detained her to verify. She claimed her mother was military, which, did you confirm before detaining her? The situation required immediate, yes or no? No, sir. Did you turn off your body cam? Kane hesitates. There was a malfunction. I asked if you turned it off. Pause. Yes, sir. Briggs slams a fist on his desk. You detained a 17-year-old girl, daughter of a Pentagon liaison, without cause, denied her access to a parent, turned off your camera. Then you wrote a psychological evaluation you weren't qualified to write. You've torpedoed this department. Chief, I was doing my job. Your job is to protect, not to humiliate children because they don't fit your assumptions. Morse's voice is measured but grim. We're facing 3 federal investigations, probable civil litigation, and potential placement under a consent decree. Briggs repeats slowly. Federal oversight. For years. 5 to 10 if we're lucky. Ortiz adds quietly, Chief, I checked Caney's file. 3 prior complaints, none investigated properly. Briggs looks like he might be sick. Get out of my office, Caney. Administrative leave, effective immediately. By day 2, the story breaks. Military mother exposes police department, federal investigation launched. Local news runs stock footage of Fort Bragg, Greystone PD, and carefully omits Madison's name. But the message is unmistakable. By day 3, it's national. Lieutenant Colonel triggers DOD audit after daughter detained. Someone leaks the redacted incident report. Social media ignites. And Greystone PD trends for days. Believe Kids floods Twitter. The top Reddit comment, imagine mocking a kid for saying her mom's special forces, then watching a lieutenant colonel walk in wearing full camo. Chef's kiss. TikTok turns the audio. Your mama's in the military. She gonna fly in wearing combat boots. Into a viral meme for instant karma moments, hitting 4 million views in 3 days. Colonel Kate Gray gives no interviews. Her public affairs officer issues one calm statement. Colonel Gray has full confidence in the ongoing federal investigations and will not be commenting further at this time. But by then, she doesn't need to speak. The country already has. The silence doesn't protect Derek Caney. It devours him. His name floods every feed, every comment thread, every whispered conversation at the grocery store. Once, his badge made him untouchable. Now, it's a curse. On administrative leave, he sits at home with the blinds drawn, watching news anchors dissect his career like a crime scene. His kids still call him Daddy, but his wife won't meet his eyes at dinner. At a Denny's 30 miles outside Greystone, his union rep stirs his coffee without drinking it. Derek, I'll defend you because it's my job, he says quietly. But if they prove you turned off that body cam on purpose, there is nothing I can do. That's evidence tampering. Caney stares into the steam rising from his cup. His voice is barely a whisper. It was supposed to be a simple stop. The rep sighs. It's not simple anymore. Back home, his phone buzzes non-stop. Group chats, notifications, reporters calling. A few old partners send private messages of support, but most just vanish. Silence can be louder than hate. Late one night, his wife breaks it. Why didn't you just let her call her mother? She asks. Caney opens his mouth, but no sound comes. There is no answer that can wash this clean. Across town, in a sterile room at City Hall, Madison sits between her mother, Colonel Gray, and a victim's advocate. The investigator, Sarah Torres, kind-eyed but unflinching, switches on a recorder. Madison, she begins, did Officer Caney threaten you? Madison's voice trembles, but she holds steady. He said I'd have a record, that colleges would see it. I'm 17. I didn't know if that was true. The advocate leans forward. That's coercion of a minor. Textbook intimidation. Torres writes quickly. Did he deny you access to a bathroom? Yes, I asked twice. He said in a minute, but never let me go. How long were you detained? Madison glances at her mom. Over an hour, maybe more. Gray's hand rests on her daughter's shoulder, grounding her. Torres nods. Thank you, Madison. You're very brave. Later that day, Officer Timothy Yates sits alone under the same harsh lights. No lawyer, no partner. Just truth. Officer Yates, Torres says, Did Officer Caney deliberately turn off his body camera? A long pause. Then, quietly, "Yes. Can you be specific?" He said, "No one needs to see this." Then he switched it off before we entered the mall. Did you object? I told him we should call her Mom. He told me to mind my own business. Torres looks at him evenly. But you didn't stop him. Yates swallows hard. No, ma'am, I didn't. And I should have. Torres closes her notebook with a quiet click. That'll be all. 2 weeks later, Chief Briggs receives the IIA report. 6 sustained findings: false detention without probable cause, denial of guardian access, coercion of a minor, falsification of report, evidence tampering via body cam, conduct unbecoming an officer, recommendation, termination. That same week, City Attorney Ellen Morse requests a private meeting with Colonel Gray. They sit across from each other in a small coffee shop halfway between City Hall and the military base. 2 untouched cups grow cold between them. Colonel Gray, Morse says carefully, the city is prepared to offer a settlement, $150,000 mutual NDA. Officer Caney resigns with pension intact. Gray's eyes are calm, voice low but cutting. No. I beg your pardon? I don't want your money. Colonel, it's a fair... I don't want fair. I want accountable. Gray leans forward, her tone steely. He doesn't resign. He's fired. No pension, no rehire. And I want your department audited from the ground up. Training, policy, cameras, everything. And Chief Briggs will apologize to my daughter, publicly. Morse stares, stunned. That's not how settlements work. Gray smiles thinly. I'm not here for typical. If you don't agree, I'll see you in federal court, with cameras, with every advocacy group that's already called me. We'll litigate this in the light. 2 weeks later, Derek Caney receives a certified letter. He opens it with shaking hands. Termination for cause. Pension forfeited. No rehire eligibility. He reads it 3 times. His wife stands in the doorway, silent. The air feels heavy, final. At City Hall, the council votes 6-0. The gavel falls. Derek Caney's career and his shield are officially gone. And somewhere in the audience, Colonel Gray closes her eyes for a long, steady breath. Not relief, not victory, justice. The council chamber is packed to the walls, a pressure cooker of truth, consequence, and the smell of cheap coffee. Reporters line the back with cameras ready. Activists in bright "Believe Kids" shirts fill the front rows, their signs trembling slightly in their hands. Derek Caney sits at the defense table looking like a ghost wearing his own skin. The man who once strutted in uniform now looks 10 years older, his suit a size too big, his eyes hollow. His union attorney, Roger Whitman, whispers something under his breath, but Caney just stares ahead. At the podium, Chief Briggs reads from a printed statement, his tone stripped of emotion. Officer Derek Caney has served 8 years with the Greystone Police Department. Internal Affairs sustained the following findings: false detention of a minor without probable cause, denial of access to guardian, coercion of a minor, falsification of an official report, evidence tampering via body camera deactivation, and conduct unbecoming an officer. The department recommends termination for cause, with pension forfeited. The air shifts, heavy, electric. Whitman rises. Council members, while Officer Caney exercised poor judgment, termination is excessive. This is his first major disciplinary action in 8 years. We request suspension, retraining, and probation. Councilwoman Patricia Hughes leans forward, her eyes cutting through him. First offense? The IIA report shows 3 prior complaints, all dismissed internally without oversight. That's not accountability, that's protection. A low murmur ripples through the gallery. Councilman Robert Mills adds, Officer Caney said, "No one needs to see this," before turning off his body cam. That's not a mistake. That's premeditated concealment. Whitman tries one last time. My client has a family, a wife, 2 children. Revoking his pension will destroy them. Hughes doesn't blink. Madison Gray is 17. She'll carry that humiliation for life. Where's her consideration? Applause breaks out, scattered but strong. Caney stands, throat tight. His voice cracks. I made a mistake. I'm sorry for what happened to Madison. I want to make it right. But his eyes betray him. Not remorse, just exhaustion, shame, and bitterness. Everyone feels it. The vote is swift. 6-0. Termination upheld. Pension forfeited. 3 days later, Officer Timothy Yates faces his own hearing. Fewer cameras, quieter room. He accepts responsibility, voice trembling as he says, I should have stopped him. I knew it was wrong. Outside, he finds Colonel Gray waiting. Ma'am, he says, eyes down. I'm truly sorry. Gray studies him for a long moment. Yes, Officer Yates. It's on you. Don't ever let it happen again. He nods once. I won't, ma'am. 1 month later, Derek Caney sits alone in a small apartment 30 miles away. The walls are bare, the rent late. Job applications pile in his inbox, all rejected. Security firms Google his name. Retail stores pass. Private investigation firms refuse. His wife has left. She took the kids. I can't watch you destroy us, she said before walking out. Now on weekends, he gets supervised visits. His children stare at him like he's a stranger. He scrolls social media. Someone's tagged him again. Hope this guy never works again. That 17-year-old had more integrity. Power-tripping coward got what he deserved. He closes the laptop. The silence is unbearable. His neighbor's TV leaks laughter through the walls, a cruel reminder of normal life. He whispers to himself, I thought I was teaching her respect. Then quieter. But I didn't respect her enough to believe her. No redemption arc follows. No grand apology. Just another rejection email he doesn't bother to open. Some men learn, some don't. Derek Caney just fades. A cautionary footnote in a story that moved mountains. 6 months later, the Department of Defense report drops like a hammer. Greystone PD, equipment suspended, $300,000 in tactical gear revoked, vehicles recalled. Training compliance below 80% now means automatic disqualification nationwide. Colonel Gray testifies before the Senate Armed Services Committee, her uniform crisp, medals gleaming. Local police officers are not soldiers, she says evenly. If they want military tools, they must uphold military-level discipline and accountability. Anything less betrays public trust. Senator Dianne Fisher introduces the Gray Clause, an amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act mandating independent audits, public reporting of use of force data, and permanent bans for departments that fail compliance twice. It passes 68-32. 8 months later, the Department of Justice concludes its investigation. Systemic failures, culture of impunity, constitutional violations. Greystone PD placed under federal consent decree for 5 years. New mandates, automatic cloud uploads of all body cam footage, bias training every 6 months, community oversight board with veto power. Chief Briggs resigns. Angela Mercer, a reformer from Oregon, steps in. 12 officers quit rather than comply. The department becomes smaller but cleaner. Madison's case becomes legal precedent, cited in 12 lawsuits nationwide. A nonprofit forms, the Believe the Kid Coalition, free legal help for minors, rights education in schools. Colonel Gray's story spreads. Military Times publishes a feature, The Colonel Who Held the Line at Home. Recruiting ads echo her words. When you serve, we serve too. We protect our own. Applications for law enforcement oversight roles surge by 40%. 1 year later, sunlight fills the Gray family kitchen. Madison, now 18, sits at the table with cereal and confidence, typing on her laptop. Mom, she says, there's a youth leadership conference next month. Essay questions about resilience. Gray smiles into her coffee. Sounds like you've got some material. Madison grins. Maybe a little. The day at the mall still lingers, not as a wound, but as a scar with meaning. She's learned that truth can stand on its own, even when no one believes you, and that courage sometimes wears a uniform with a Mother S nameplate. Late that morning, Gray sorts through the mail, bills, flyers, then an official envelope, Greystone Police Department letterhead. She pauses. The sunlight catches her wedding ring, reflecting across the envelope. Whatever it is, she opens it, calm, unflinching, ready. A week later, a plain white envelope arrives. No logos, just a neat return address. Chief Angela Mercer, City Police Department. Madison hands it to her mother, curious. Colonel Gray studies it for a moment before carefully tearing it open. Inside lies a handwritten note on crisp department stationery. Colonel Gray, I've reviewed every report tied to what happened to Madison. What your daughter endured was inexcusable. I can't undo it, but I can ensure it never happens again. Under our new oversight board, we've implemented the Verify Before Assume protocol. From now on, officers must confirm facts and contact guardians before detaining any minor. Every action requires documented proof of reasonable suspicion, not assumption. Informally, they're calling it the Gray Rule. I hope that's acceptable. We're not perfect yet, but we're learning, and we're trying to be better than we were. Respectfully, Chief Angela Mercer. Gray reads it twice, silently. Then she passes it to Madison. Madison scans every word, her eyes narrowing, then softening. Cool, she murmurs. But I hope nobody else has to go through what I did for them to finally figure out basic decency. Gray exhales, voice low and steady. That's the point of change, kid. We push hard so the next person doesn't have to, so the system bends before it breaks someone else. Madison looks out the window. Do you think it'll stick? Or will they forget once people stop paying attention? Gray smiles faintly. That's why we stay vigilant. Change doesn't just happen, it needs maintenance. The moment we stop watching, old habits sneak back in. Evening settles gently. The porch glows under golden hour light, painting everything warm and forgiving. A kid rides past on a bicycle, carefree, unbothered. No sirens, no suspicion, just freedom. Madison watches the boy disappear down the street. Do you think Officer Kane ever really understood what he did wrong? Gray pauses. Maybe not. Some people are more invested in being right than in being better, but here's what matters. The system understood. One bad cop is a problem we can fix by firing him. A system that protects bad cops, that's the real crisis. That's what we had to change. Madison nods slowly. So, did we fix it? We started the fix, Gray says softly. Real change is generational. It takes decades of steady pressure. We just pushed the first domino. Others have to keep pushing. They sit together in silence, watching the sky bleed from gold to rose to indigo. After a while, Gray speaks again. You stood up when it mattered most, even when I wasn't ready to believe you. Even when you were scared and alone. I'm proud of you, Madison. Madison leans against her mother's shoulder. Learned it from watching you, Mom. Gray wraps an arm around her, holding her close as dusk deepens around them. Some victories are loud. Others are quiet, like a mother and daughter on a porch, breathing in peace that was once impossible. Tonight is both. But Madison Gray's story isn't rare. Across this country, thousands of kids face adults who assume guilt before hearing truth. Kids who are silenced not because they're wrong, but because they're unheard. Most don't have parents with rank or reach. Most never see an apology, let alone reform. They just carry the scars of disbelief. Every now and then, though, someone picks the wrong child. Someone whose truth refuses to be buried. Someone whose mother walks in wearing combat boots and a reputation that can't be ignored. Madison Ass case became a turning point not because she was lucky, but because justice finally had a face it couldn't dismiss. And through her, a principle emerged. Children deserve to be believed until proven otherwise, not suspected until proven innocent. Every bully's downfall starts the same way. One person refuses to back down. One person says no more and means it. One voice becomes a movement. If this story reminded you that accountability still matters, that truth, when armed with courage, can still shake the walls of power, then share it. Tag someone who's been underestimated and proved everyone wrong. And remember, the badge doesn't grant righteousness. The uniform doesn't guarantee integrity. Real power comes from standing firm in your truth, no matter who doubts you. This isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of what happens when truth meets visibility. At Fate Tales, we believe exposure is the first step to transformation. Subscribe and stay tuned, because the next story might be yours.